Hello everyone. This video is long overdue, but it's better late than never. And since I gathered quite a lot of knowledge how to do VR in the last two and a half year, as you can see, I put in some time in ACC, and 99% of that is in VR. I will try to share my knowledge and how you can reach the best performance to visual ratio with any headset, not just the Quest. I am using the Quest, but the way I am going to show you will be applicable for any kind of headset. So first, if you want to use the Quest link, I would say the best way is to use Oculus VR mode. And I already made a guide in Assetto Corsa Competizione. You can find this VR quality guide. This is 90% valid, except I am using DLSS 4 now instead of the TA Gen 5. But that will be shown in this video, so you can apply that and the rest. But even with Quest, you are better to use this option, but not SteamVR. If you can check, I don't even have SteamVR installed because we will go around it completely. It's a quite big layer and robs a lot of performance. We will go around it with OpenComposite. So the first thing you need is you need OpenComposite. You just Google OpenComposite, find it on GitLab, and there's a lengthy explanation how to install it. System-wide did not work for me, and I'm fine with the per game. You just download the 64-bit OpenVR API, and the easiest way to find where to put it is go to Steam, Manage, Browse Local Files. So the folder pops up, and you just type in OpenVR into the search. It will find the DLL, and you just have to overwrite this one. So you go into this folder, file location. I usually use Total Commander, and you just throw in the DLL here. What this will do is translate the SteamVR while going around it completely to OpenXR. And you can use OpenXR, which is a pretty neat and open and a lot of tools available API for VR. The next thing we need is OpenXR Toolkit. You just Google it. You can find the GitHub page of Mr. Ambucha, and you scroll down, download the latest, and you install the MSI. By default, sadly, this does not let us crop, which is the biggest performance gain you can have in VR, especially in sim racing where you only need like 40 to 60% vertical FOV. Anything above that, you just see the roof of the car and your leg, which is completely waste of performance. Next, you will need my modded DLL for be able to crop with it. To find my modded DLL, you should go to my page, look for this video, and in the description there is a link to my Google Drive. You download the new one, 1.3.8, and in that, of course, you read the disclaimer. That's very important, but in 99% of sim titles, this won't be an issue at all. So you download the mod, you look for C program files OpenXR Toolkit for the toolkit you just installed, and you copy the DLL here, overwrite. If you right click on the DLL properties, you should see 1.3.8 and sim racing mod. Then you have the proper, also you can start up the companion and see that the 1.3.8 is active. I highly advise you to change the up, down, left, right in the companion to up, down, left, right instead of F1, 2, 3, 4. because that's very unintuitive, and usually you don't need control up, down, left, right in any game. So I find it to be a better way to handle the in-game. If you are on a Knuckles Quest, any of them, you need to set up virtual desktop, which I'm going to show you. If you are on any other headset which has OpenXR native support, you should hop to the DLSS tweaking part. For virtual desktop, you both need the Meta application. It has some price, but it's a very, very good program. So I highly advise you to buy it. You can buy it in the store, or I think here in the Meta store, but it's easier to do it in the headset. And you are also going to need the free Streamer app. You download the Streamer app, install it, and the app will be shown here on your taskbar. You should enable start with Windows if you want to start minimized. These are my settings. You can use AV1 if you have a 4th gen RTX card. If not, I will, depends on how good your connection. You can use 264 plus or can try the AJVC. All of them have ups and downs. 264 plus has the lowest latency. AV1 has the best bitrate to graphic quality ratio, but it needs RTX 40 series or higher. I think the 7 series of AMD can do it, but I'm not sure. Also, you can use the AGVC, which is a bit more latency, not as good as the AV1. So it's somewhere in between, but it's supported by most graphic cards. You also have to set up your account, just add your name in it. Change the OpenXR runtime to VDXR, and I think those are all the settings here. You also have a few settings in the headset, which I'm going to show you in a second. I just have to start it. So in the Quest, you start up virtual desktop. You can set your environment, whatever you want to. I find it black. In input, I disabled everything because I am using hand tracking, so I shouldn't use my controllers. I don't need them. I usually just start the VD and it just automatically connects, and after that I don't even use the Quest controls. In settings, auto connect is pretty useful. I usually set off the optimal resolution. This can gain you a tiny bit of performance, but not meaningful. These are not that meaningful settings because these are for the desktop. What you are really want to set is in the streaming. If you have a decent card with at least like 10 gigabytes of memory, I highly suggest to go godlike. We will gain back the performance with temporal upscaling. So unless you have like a 50 series or maybe 2060, I don't know, you can go lower, but anything which has enough VRAM, you should go for godlike and gain back the performance otherwise. For frame rate, you choose whatever you want. 120 did not look very good for me. I find a 90, even though when I had 120 FPS, I found a 90 FPS smoother. But you can go lower, which will just make the FPS cap lower. But also, Virtual Desktop and Quest 3 renders quite decently when you have like, I don't know, 70 plus, even though it's 90 FPS. I always disable synchronous space warp. It adds latency. I rather drop a few frames than have a few those weird frames and have latency. So disabled, in my opinion. Snapdragon game super resolution makes the game a bit crisper, so I like that. Video buffering is a hard choice. I use on because ACE is very hard to run and it helps with it. if you have very, very stable FPS in ACC and a very good Wi-Fi, I would say click it off. I disable track controllers, blah, blah, blah. Increase video nominal range also increases latency, they say. I did not test it, but I'm fine with the normal one. And you can set show color performance here if you want some overlays. And the VR bitrate will be automatically adjusted. Just keep it maxed out so it will be adjusted. If you are on H.264 plus, it can go up to 500 megabits. In AV1 200 looks pretty good. And don't forget, since we are going to crop the game heavily, you will spread that streaming bitrate in a smaller picture, which also makes it better. So cropping is double win for low bitrate streaming. If everything is fine, you go to computers, connect, or if you set up auto connect and the streamer is running, it will automatically hop on you onto the desktop. Next step is DLSS 4. So let's go back to the desktop. In order to use DLSS 4 instead of DLSS 2, which is stock on ACC and pretty old and look very, very bad, you first need to download the newest DLSS. Just search DLSS DL and download. There will be a Tech Power Up page, and at the top there will be the latest. You download it, select any mirror, download it, and you should copy it to go to Steam, manage browse local files, EC2 plugins, DLSS binaries, third party, Win64, and override this DLL. It should say it's 320. Yeah, 310. And that's the DLL done. Next, you will need MV inspector or profile inspector in order to force the newest profile of the DLSS. I will put this link into the description because the normal MV inspector just crashes. This is a fix for 571. You extract it somewhere and you start the inspector, and you should find at 0.2 there's a DLSS preset. You can try preset J, which is the sharper new one, or if you click the last one, the FFFFF hex, this will always choose the highest, which is currently profile K. Profile K is a tiny bit less sharp than J, but it has better motion stability and less ghosting in a part when something new comes into the screen, like a car comes into the screen while it wasn't there. So it tries to use newer pixel data instead of trying to figure out what is what. So it's a bit more temporally stable. You select that, apply changes. I'm also going to include these two reg files, which overrides this reg value, so you will have an overlay of which DLSS is running currently. You can use it if you want to, just to check like everything is working, then disable it. So if all that is done, we should hop into ACC and start to tweak the settings there. For that, we go to Steam, ACC, select play, and select the SteamVR, which is not SteamVR now because we installed OpenComposite. If you never ever want to launch any other mode, you can tick the always use this option. If you have another option ticked like that, go to the properties and change the select launch option to whatever you want, or ask every time like I do because I am recording sometime. So SteamVR and play. So if you start the game first time with OpenXR Toolkit, or you have safe mode enabled, you will see this drop-down menu. do what it says. If you are in safe mode, go to menu, restore defaults, control right twice or whatever you set it to that. And you have to close the game and disable safe mode so you can come back here and do as we will do now as the first start. So usually first I disable the timeout because it's annoying. And what we will want to do, we have to hop into a car. Enable to see that. There's one bug. The GUI is dark, but luckily nothing else, so it's not affecting driving at all. So what we want to do is, as you can see, you see the top of the car and our leg. And those are completely irrelevant data for racing. And rendering that will rob you a lot of performance because this is basically half of the picture. So what we want to do is come to System, go to Override Resolution, crop to FOV. As you can see right now, we are in 3072 by 3216, which is the per eye resolution for Quest 3 in Godlike. And how we will gain performance if you start to decrease the FOV, up is the top one, you see it calculates the new resolution. And if you go to very low, it will be much lower. I have to restart the game because the mirror is stretching, but I will set it to like 38 and 60, which is my usually get-go resolution. Remember, we have 32,060 right now, and if I restart it, and here we are back in the game with the new FOV. As you can see, we cropped the hell out of it, basically. And aspect ratio is the same. We just see a big letterbox, and our current resolution, as you can, is basically the third. So we gained a crap load of performance. This is quite a heavy cropping. I am used to it. If you lower the up more, that will gain you more because the per eye resolution is calculated in an exponential way because there's a distortion curvature. I mapped basically what resolution you need for what kind of FOVs. I looked for things which should be round, so they are still round, and calculated the resolution from that, and I made a graph so it calculates sort of accurately. You can also do super sampling here, like if you want to stream, you can do it like 38,000 by 40, 38,040 by like 15,000. That's good for streaming. But let's go back to 100 and let me show you the rest of the settings because there are a lot to gain in ACC. So here we are. I just changed the resolution to that so I can show you my settings and how to set it up, what tricks you can use to gain more performance. So we go to video. I usually run a very small window in disabled full screen. Only thing you have to watch out that you can run your mouse out of it, but this can gain you a slight bit of performance. And the frame limiter is on just to not cook your GPU, let it cool down a bit while it's in the menu. I have a quite hefty GPU, a 4080 Super, so yeah, view distances are high to epic, shadows are high, shadow distance high to epic, still there's a lot of pop-in. Contact shadows should be enabled. Very, very, very important because I think the floating cars looks horrible. We will come back to DLSS. Effects are high, post-processing are high, foliage is low because we don't need 3D grass. Mirror quality high, very long distance. I usually keep it on auto. That I think it says adapts it. Other settings are a bit bugged, so auto is fine. High mirror resolution, 15 opponents visible is usually enough for most racing. VR pixel density is 100 with godlike resolution. Materials are epic. Bloom is low. I don't need that. Volumetric fog is disabled. Foliage load quality is again very low. We don't need 3D grass. Card load should be around 75 to 90. You gain some performance and you don't see that clearly at the distance, so meh. Age load is disabled. I tried on, it looked very weird. There were issues. Advanced sharpening filter is disabled because that makes a very crude sharpening. Motion blur, of course, disabled, and these are completely personal preferences. So one thing we can gain performance is, since I said we should go for godlike resolution, which is quite a lot. Also, if you are on any other headset, you should put it to as high as the headset driver let you, and just enable DLSS. Sharpening doesn't work since 2.4 or something. And how you want to gain back performance is with the DLSS quality. So what we are aiming for is you go to OpenXR Toolkit, go to Performance, Overlay, FPS, and set the target frame rate to the frame rate you set your headset up. So the FPS or Hertz, the refresh rate, and exit the menu. And if you do this, you should be able to see what kind of performance you have. We should start a quick race with like 15 cars. Even better if you have like, don't stress your CPU. You just want to stress your GPU unless you want to set up this for solo racing. I usually go for Misano because it has quite a high performance budget. Weather should be zero clouds, so we have shadows, and the daytime should be around midday, so we have quite a lot of shadows. And start the race. And we are looking for, as you can see, that we are CPU bound. I have a quite hefty CPU. I think this is due to I'm recording. But you should start to play around with, because I am usually having quite a good performance. You should start to play around with your video settings, DLSS quality, so that you have around 10% performance right here at the race start. And 10% headroom. And that will lead you to a very stable FPS. You can go, like if you have a quite low graphics card, you can sacrifice some of the race start bit. So like drop a few frames from your optimal at the race start, because usually you will have the frame rate during the races. Depends on how much you want to sacrifice your view and how much performance headroom you have. So basically, this is how you set up ACC. The preparation is much harder than in the game. A few other tricks is like in the view settings, it's useful to set everything off except some look to horizon. This will smoothen your camera. Only bug is that you, during a lot of G-outs, you will lose the camera position. It will drift away. So I did a setting here, move up and move up of the camera. This is in the cycle camera area to U and I. And if like on nodes, it starts to drift, you see your position is drifting, you just press U and I and it will snap it back to the proper position. So this is how you set it up, and I wish you fun races. So have a nice day.